Welcome back to the Taka Fan Podcast. I'm Kayama Tigni. Today I'm introducing you to Nancy Bosnoian. Nancy is a founder and CEO of End No Sleep, a nonprofit organization dedicated to delivering engaging sleep health education through a digital e-learning. This initiative serves as a cornerstone of preventable mental health care, connecting youth worldwide to initiative and digital world resources and empowering them to embrace sleep as a vital foundation for overall well-being. Nancy's journey began in Aleppo, Syria, where she survived the war before immigrating to Los Angeles with her family. This experience ignited a deep-root passion for helping others. Faced with her own medical challenges, Nancy recognized the crucial importance of sleep and scarcity of resources, addressing the essential aspect of health, especially inspiring her to establish and no sleep. Currently a student at Columbia University, Nancy continues to leverage her education and personal experiences to drive her mission forward. She has been selected as one of the 25 inaugural fellows of the Clinton Foundation's Clinton Global Initiative as a Health Equality Fellow, a Z Zurich Foundation Scholar, and Western Union Foundation Fellow, a Vital Voices Grassroots Voice Leader, a One Young World Ambassador, and Millennium Fellow as Campus Director. Nancy firmly believes in a harnessing initiative technology to deliver health education, teaching young youth about preventable care as a crucial element in preventing disorders and diseases from a young age. Welcome to the podcast, Nancy. I know that was a super long intro, but you are literally doing amazing things. Oh my gosh. Once I was reading word for word, I'm like, oh my gosh, she is doing and got so many things. That's crazy.
Thank you so much for having me. And thank you very much. I think it took, yeah, it's taken a lot of dedication and time and effort to be able to provide this resource and put End No Sleep on the map. So I really appreciate that.
So to kickstart this episode off, can you share us your story behind the founding of And No Sleep and what motivated you to focus specifically on sleep health education?
Yeah, of course. So, as you mentioned, when I was 12 years old, I survived the Syrian civil war with my family. And I think at such a young age, well, yes, with that came a lot of atrocity. It also came for me with a huge sense of like a gift, which was my kind of sense of purpose and what I wanted to do with my life. And that was to give back to community and be grateful for the chance I was given to be alive and safe. And I wanted to kind of amplify the voices of people who weren't able to do so at the time. And then when I was 16, I was actually hospitalized I was going through a lot of medical conditions at the time. And with that came my sleeping problems. And I was actually tired all the time, couldn't sleep. And when I would ask professionals about it, they would kind of dismiss me and they would dismiss my sleeping problems. So the only other kind of resource I had was to kind of Google, and when I Googled problems about sleep, the first thing that came out was the fact that sleep was a part of the cycle of poverty and sleep had become like the ultimate luxury. And I had never thought of it that way. And then and there, it kind of clicked to me that, you know, there has to be an organization that could provide sleep resources to people who need it most. And then also through my lived experience, the side effects of my sleep problems were, mental health and worsened physical problems. So I really saw that, sleep was this crucial foundation for good health and good mental health because it was the first thing providers wanted to tackle when I was going through a lot of problems. So that's kind of how NLC came about. After I graduated high school, I had taken a medical year and then another gap year, and to really focus on growing NLC because the main goal was to provide sleep education to students because that was really like I wasn't the only one in my class who was suffering from sleep problems. It was something like the community was kind of going through, but nobody was really talking about it or addressing it at all. And that's how I know sleep was born.
That's crazy because I'm the type of person that deals with sleep problems as well. Because every time I try to sleep, no matter what, some days have good days, some have bad days. And there was a week in time where every single day I was running on 3 hours of sleep every single night. And was up from like 3 a.m. onwards. Would sleep 3 hours. And no matter if I take melatonin, sprays, help me sleep, nothing would work. Even though I take both of those, maybe something else, sometimes neither of those would work, no matter what. And I deal with sleep problems since I was, I don't know, 15 or 16 years old. And sometimes it always depends on the day. Some days I have good sleep, some days I'm bad. But no matter what I often take, they don't oftentimes work depending on the night. And also, mental health is also a clear role in sleeping. It also plays a role in mine. But sometimes it always depends on a day for us, you know? Like some
Yeah.
days you just don't oftentimes know how many hours you're actually going to sleep.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I think sleep is not something that is like linear. It can change. And I'm sorry to hear about, thank you for sharing your sleeping problems and sorry to hear about them because I know how tough it can be to like go through the periods of times where you're only getting 3 hours of sleep. But, that's why I think the creation of and no sleep and what we do is so important because we're able to besides just educate on the importance of it and give you tips and tricks on like how to get that evidence base, there is this aspect of providing the right resources. And it's like, what can you do if those things don't work? And that's like where we come in as well. It's like, oh, here, this is how to bring it up to your provider. This is how to bring it up. This is maybe what type of doctor you should go seek if those problems continue to come up for you. So I think that's a really like important aspect of the sleep that it's not linear.
Yeah, and there's tons of resources out there that can help you. Like I honestly been to dozens of doctors and future sleep doctors and tests. I'm sure during your situation you had to go to do a lot of sleep tests and everything. That's something that I have to go through, which is something that I'm not looking forward to as, it's probably torture from your experience. But to have those resources is something crucial for people that are dealing with those situations. Because now a lot of people, whether you're on the streets or whatever, not a lot of people have those resources or have the money for that.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. The bridging the resources is a very crucial aspect of the work you do in the sleep sector is that sometimes those sleep resources are available. Sometimes they may be expensive, but they're also not accessible specifically to like Gen Z and like the next generation. It's like you have to go through a bunch of Google um pages and like a lot of research to find out like, oh, what can I do next? And sometimes like there is this incredible resource, it's just not accessible, and the conversation of accessibility is really important and one that we're trying to kind of like bridge the gap on.
I love it. So, like, can you elaborate on how EndoSleep uses innovation and digital resources to engage youth in sleep health education?
Yes, so to kind of broaden our reach and impact, we are using e-learning platform and one thing we are currently working on building is also trying to figure out how to use AI chatbots
Mhm.
to again, going back on the accessibility part, provide those resources to students anywhere, anytime. And I think technology has really, really allowed us to expand impact in a matter of seconds. You could be across the world and you could have access to our link. Um, and it will kind of guide you through the curriculum that we have built. And I think we are like really turning into this like tech nonprofit who's using these resources that are available to us to kind of expand our mission globally.
Especially with the use of AI, like that is some use where you basically can have that do it for you with ideas and different technologies on how to grow your organization. And that is something that has become more and more popular by the day. This year, like AI wasn't a thing probably early last year. It wasn't until this year where AI just became very popular, where people oftentimes have them write essays for you and different scripts and everything. Like AI is doing everything for you. And to have AI part of everything of your business is something that is completely like something that is used in probably every business at this point. Like how does like AI help you guys in your organization?
I mean, day to day wise is like, of course, I think using AI, especially being a small, mighty nonprofit, has been really helpful because like you can delegate a lot of resources. Like if I'm writing an email, want to make sure I can check the typos, then it can, it can do that for you. But like depending on the type of AI you use, for us in terms of impact, how we're trying to use it towards our beneficiaries, towards
Mhm.
students, is that we're trying to use it to kind of build a chatbot where students can go on and find sleep resources whenever like 24/7. So like the AI is not like a human. It's available to you
Mhm.
24/7. So that's like a tool that, a lot of other sleep nonprofits may not have or may not offer. So that's what we're trying to work on, is building an AI chatbot so that the resources that we teach in classrooms are also available to students at any time of the day.
Great idea, especially with AI. Like AI is available basically anywhere, no matter what. And it's great because social media is such a big thing nowadays. Is that when people access something, it always has to be on social media because not a lot of people pay attention to things right in front of them besides their phones.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, in terms of preventive care, like it's a vital aspect of mental health. Like, in your opinion, like how does sleep education fit into the broader conversation about mental health care for young people? Because with nowadays, mental health plays such a big role in people's lives, with leading in suicide and deaths in teens and all that stuff with social media. Like, how do you think that plays a role?
I love this question because that's exactly like what what our messaging is when we're talking about mental health care now, a lot of organizations are focused on post symptom addressing situations. So, post symptoms interventions, which are incredibly crucial. But one thing that sleep and sleep education has to play in a role is sleep deprivation, as stated by the CDC. 72.2% of high school students in the United States are currently sleep deprived.
Mhm.
And as many studies show, especially in JAMA Pediatrics, where you see one night of sleep deprivation increases the chances of experiencing depressive symptoms. One night of sleep deprivation increases the chances of experiencing anxiety. There was even a study that did that kind of looked into substance abuse and sleep deprivation. And so the kind of conclusion of that is sleep deprivation has been around for obviously for a long time because it hasn't been addressed, but it's also been around to be a leading cause of poor mental health. Specifically when we are talking about the most common ones, which are depression and anxiety. Now, of course, it's not the only leading root cause, but it is a leading root cause. And it's very important for me when it comes to preventive healthcare is, how do we talk about the situation in order to stop it from happening?
Mhm.
Like, let's look at the leading root causes of mental health, poor mental health, and let's address the leading root causes so that it doesn't reoccur again. And in my situation, that was clearly sleep, and it was something that wasn't addressed. So really tackling sleep and have being able to give students access to good quality sleep and those resources to be able to provide that in order to prevent worsening poor mental health, or in order to prevent poor mental health in some cases, then that's really what we are trying to do, is take out a leading root cause instead of treating or offering interventions like post symptoms. And of course, there's a cycle with, after you do have poor mental health or you are diagnosed with depression or anxiety or whatever that may be, you can have poor sleep as kind of a byproduct of your symptoms. So that there is that too. But again, even in our curriculum that we have, we talk about, deep breathing exercises that students are guided through during the curriculum. So we're trying to address also, like, if anxiety is keeping you up, here are evidence-based things you can do to kind of calm down at least your body emotionally during that time. So yeah.
That's crazy. I did not know that because as someone who deals with sleep deprivation, a ton, that is something that I did not like look into now. And that's very interesting because I didn't know how that many people deal with that. Because as someone who has literally a ton going on, it's very normal for me to feel so sleep deprived with juggling so many things, as I'm sure you do as well. But that is something that not I know not a lot of people pay attention to, and that is not talked about from what I've seen so far. Because it happens in so many people nowadays that it's not really talked about because not a lot of people know what exactly it is.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think that's part of the conversations we have at NO Sleep is like, how do we put this on the map? And I think just talking to more people and creating like the next generation of sleep activists or sleep advocates is so important, but also really tying it into like the real focus on the world, which thankfully right now, one of them is like really caring about mental health and is like, how are we able to broaden our reach for that? And how do we put out the right messaging so that people know that, this is a real problem and these are the great resources that they can access.
I love it. So, like, does sleep directly affect our sustainability? That is something that I've been wondering for a long time and knew I had to ask you this question, but does really sleep really affect our sustainability?
So I would say yes, sleep does directly affect our sustainability, and whether it is on a personal, like both in personal and professional settings. And the reason for that is that sleep deprivation does lead to poor cognitive function, so that can lead into an increase in making mistakes and reducing productivity, which in the end of the day ends up resulting in wasted resources and a higher energy consumption. So I would say both like in a professional setting, but also in a personal setting, absolutely sleep is part of, directly does affect sustainability.
That's crazy. So to wrap this episode up, like how can our listeners get involved with Endo Sleep and support your mission?
So if you go to endnosleep.org, you can subscribe to our monthly newsletter, but also follow us on Instagram and staying active on our social media platforms. It's at endnosleep.inc. And yeah, I think we are always in lookout for volunteers who want to help with our mission. No matter what skills or background you come from, there's always a space for you at EndNoSleep to be able to contribute back to the community.
Great. And if you ever need volunteers, just let me know. I'd be happy to connect with anyone, and I'd also be happy to help out in any way, if you ever need help
Thank
with
you.
anything. But thank you so much for coming on and taking the time to chat with us, Nancy. I've been dying to do an episode like this, so it's great to learn more about this subject because I've been dealing with the exact same thing. So that is something that I've been wanting to learn more on, and I knew you're a great person for this episode. So I really appreciate you
Thank you
coming
so
on and
much.
taking the time to chat with us at your busy schedule.
Yeah, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to do this. And also thank you for also being open and sharing your sleep story. I think that's a huge like part of doing the work that I do is like hearing the need and like also um really appreciating your vulnerability with that. So thank you.
Of course, thank you so much. So thank you everyone for listening. And if you guys have any like stories, share just let me know. And, or if you want me to share it with Nancy, just let me know. I'd be happy to send it over to her. And I really appreciate everyone for listening. Make sure to like, subscribe, and review. And I'll talk to you guys very soon. And